very well with China. And I'm getting along very well with President Xi. I think it's very insulting to say students can't come here, because they'll go out and they'll start building schools and they'll be able to survive it. But I like that their students come here. I like that other countries' students come here. And you know what would happen if they didn't? Our college system would go to hell very quickly. You'd have, and it wouldn't be the top colleges. It would be colleges that struggle on the bottom. And you take out 300,000 or 600,000 students out of the system. I like having, and I told this to President Xi, that we're honored to have their students here.
President Donald Trump is a mercurial man. That's no secret. But his latest U-turn has left even his most loyal supporters baffled. The US president has announced that 600,000 Chinese students will be permitted to study at American colleges. Donald Trump claimed his decision was important to maintain ties between the two countries. Chinese students will help keep many US colleges financially afloat, he said. In fact, China hopes that the United States will act on Trump's commitment to welcome Chinese students and urge the administration to stop harassment and interrogation of Chinese students.
教育交流合作有助于增进各国人民之间的交往和了解。我们希望美方将特朗普总统欢迎中国留学生赴美学习的表态落到实处。 停止无端滋扰、盘查、遣返中国留学生，切实保障他们的正当合法权益。
But this announcement comes at a time when the Trump administration is cracking down on illegal immigration. His base, especially hardline MAGA supporters, push back strongly. Many saw this move as a betrayal of his America First agenda. Some said Americans were tired of decades and decades of this treason. Conservative figures, including Marjorie Taylor Greene and former advisor Steve Bannon, sharply criticized the plan, arguing that guaranteeing 600,000 visas could undermine national security and intellectual property protections. The latest stance of the US president is also a stark contrast to what the Trump administration had said 3 months ago. In May 2025 visa policy change statement, Secretary of State Marco Rubio had said, the US State Department will work with the Department of Homeland Security to aggressively revoke visas for Chinese students. The statement read, and I quote, "We will also revise visa criteria to enhance scrutiny of all future visa applications from People's Republic of China." So then what changed? For one, the ongoing trade negotiations with China. By treating visas for students as a gesture of goodwill, Donald Trump aimed to ease tensions and highlight shared economic and educational interests. Trump's tariffs have threatened to deteriorate US-China relations over the past year, but Beijing too has been playing hardball. Tit-for-tat tariffs would throw the American economy in a tizzy, and Donald Trump is well aware of that. That explains why Washington and Beijing reached a trade truce and decided to give negotiators more time to find common ground. But Donald Trump's newfound love for China is diametrically opposite to the stance taken for India. Indian students experienced massive upheaval, with thousands having their student and exchange visitor program records terminated or their visas revoked, sometimes even for minor undocumented reasons. This has created widespread fear, legal confusion, and instability. A study, in fact, found that 50% of reported visa revocations affected Indian students, making Indians the most affected group, followed by Chinese students. In fact, the Chinese students made up for roughly a quarter of foreign students in the United States. That figure stood at 270,000 during the 2023-2024 school year. Meanwhile, in that same period, 331,000 Indian students were studying in the United States. So why does then Trump want Indian students out, but not the Chinese? Well, maybe because Chinese students like to return to their homeland, unlike Indian students who chose to stay there and work for American and European companies. Students who graduate in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM fields as they're called, often apply for a 24-month extension for Optional Practical Training Program, or the OPT program. But that too now is under direct threat as the Trump administration pushes for its elimination, along with several new tax proposals, fraud crackdowns, and stricter oversight. then why this disparity between India and China? For one, it's strategic calculus. Trump's policy appears to be transactional, welcoming Chinese students as a bargaining chip in trade talks with Beijing while keeping the domestic enforcement aggressive against others, including India. It's national security versus economic gain for the Trump administration, it seems. The crackdown on Indian and other international students was largely framed around security concerns and controlling immigration flows, despite their vital contribution to the US economy and to innovation specifically. And given the backlash from the MAGA base on this China decision, perhaps Donald Trump is trying to balance the scales by reinforcing his tough on immigration brand by cracking down on Indian students. The bottom line, this inconsistency only highlights a broader tension in Trump's second-term policies. That there is selective openness when it suits geopolitical strategy and a sweeping restriction as part of domestic immigration posturing.